my lovely friends, it's Margaret, and today we're going to be talking about my most anticipated releases of 2020. Okay, so these are just the books for the first half of 2020. A lot of the ones that are coming out in the second half of 2020, once you get past like July or so, they don't have a release date. Most of them. Like Rick Riordan's book's probably going to come out the first Tuesday of October because that's just like the Rick Riordan Day. Like that's every year, that's Rick Riordan Day, is the first Tuesday of October. Anyway, so I have on my phone that's actually Catwoman, but I have my notes somewhere on here. I have my notes of the 2020 releases that I am looking forward to. Some of these have, in fact, already come out because it's February 1st and I'm just now filming this. Some of them are coming out, will have been out by the time you see them because they're coming out this Tuesday, and we will get to those because I am excited. Anyways, so we are going to start with why are you doing what you're doing? We are going to start with the books coming out on January 21st. The first one is The Hand on the Wall by Maureen Johnson. This is the last book in the Truly Devious Mystery series. I think we've had most of our questions answered, but there are still a few things. That we need to know. I am ready to know what the end of this mystery is. If you don't know, it's about Stevie, and Stevie is going to a boarding school where this really huge murder happened like 80 years ago, and she is obsessed with the murder, and so she's decided she's going to solve it. I have really enjoyed it. Hasn't had quite the romance that I would have liked. I liked it in the first book, and then in the second book, he does that like male protagonist thing or male hero thing where he just is a complete and total words that I won't use on my channel. But barring the fact that like I'm not sold on the romance, I really am sold on the mystery of this, and I need to know what happens. So like I could have hated the last book and I would still need to know what happens, but I actually kind of enjoyed what happened in the last book. Namely because I was right about a lot of it. I am a Ravenclaw. We get endorphins from being right. So another one that I am really interested in that just came out is Tweet Cute. It's basically like a You've Got Mail retelling. He is the son of somebody who owns this big burger joint, and one of them, their parents owns a big old burger joint. One of them, their parents owns like this really small kind of mom and pop style deli, and they're really famous for their grilled cheese, and then the burger joint comes out with the grilled cheese, and because they are in charge of these two businesses' social media teams, they end up in this like little kind of tete-a-tete over Twitter, that's the word. I am on this site, I should know this. And then they're also getting to know each other through this app that the guy has developed, and he's developed it so that like no one's, it sounds really cute. I enjoyed You've Got Mail, mainly because it has a bookstore romance. So the next book that I want to talk about that is coming out on January 21st is This Vicious Cure by Emily Suvada. I don't know the name of the series. Do I look like I keep track of these things? But it's the last book in the series that starts with This Mortal Coil. I read This Mortal Coil for my Small Booktubers recommendations vlog. Basically, I read 6 books from 6 booktubers favorites list, decided try to figure out whether or not I liked their reading taste. Spoiler alert for that video. I really enjoyed This Mortal Coil, and it had a lot of interesting things. There was a twist at the end. There's gene hacking. Basically, they're in this futuristic world where there's a zombie virus kind of going around, and they've come up with the cure, and then they're having to deal with the fact that like you have to hack people's genes to give them the cure, and then there's other stuff that happened, and it was a disaster, but like in the good way, in the way that makes you want to read the next book kind of way. So yes, I am excited for the last book in this series. If you're looking for coherent synopses on these, you're not going to get them because I'm just going to tell you why I was interested in said book. So moving on to February, we're going to start out with February 4th. The first book that we need to talk about is, hold on, The Stars We Steal by Alexa Dunn. I was lucky enough to get an arc of this when I went to BookNet Fest because Alexa had a whole stack of them. I have a full review if you are interested in my thoughts on this book, but suffice it to say, I loved it. This is a retelling of Jane Austen meets The Bachelor, mostly Persuasion, which if you don't know, Persuasion is probably like number 3 on my list of favorite Jane Austen novels. Persuasion and Sense and Sensibility, like they flip-flop a lot. It just depends on which one I've read most recently. But this is about Leo, and during this kind of courtship season, her old flame that she was sort of engaged to comes back, and he's looking for a wife. And so there's this awkward like thing where they both are still into each other, but they're also both trying to find partners that are going to help them with their prospective goals. And unfortunately, Leo has a lot of pressure from her family to marry someone who is rich, because they are not doing so well, even though they are space royalty. It's a gorgeous, wonderful, I loved it. I loved it. I enjoyed Brightly Burning. I loved this book so much. I had so much fun reading it. It was exactly the kind of like angst and ridiculousness that I like in my romance. It might have taken them way too long to kiss, but I really can't fault Alexa for that because it's a Persuasion retelling, so you can't exactly like, it's fine. The next book that is on the list is The Deathless Divide by Justina Ireland. I am of a mixed opinion on this. I really, really liked Dread Nation when I read it the first time. However, I have since realized and been informed that there is a lot of, not a lot of, but she just doesn't do a very good job, considering that part of her plot deals with or relies on what was done to Native Americans in the United States. She doesn't do a great job of representing Native Americans. It's not necessarily that she used it, it's that she doesn't do a good job with it. I haven't reread it since I read it the first time, but I really enjoyed the way that it was empowering for Black girls and the way it discussed colorism and a lot of other stuff. And I really liked the twist at the end. So, I really enjoyed it, but I also understand that it has some negative representation. So I'm giving her another chance, because that's kind of my modus operandi when I am dealing with authors of color. I feel like if I have given a white author a pass on something, I'm going to give an author of color the same chance that I would have given that white author to grow. So I feel like I will be interested to see what she has to say and how she handles it in the next book. It also ties into the fact that the scholar that first brought the misrepresentation to my mind, also I don't necessarily know that I trust her when it comes to her opinion on Black authors anymore, just because of other stuff that has gone down recently, and it seems to be kind of a trend of her just not liking Native representation by Black authors, even when those Black authors are Native. It's a whole thing that I am not going to get into for this video, because that's not what this video is about, but look for what I'm going to have to say about Trail of Lightning here soon. Moving on to February 18th, we have Of Curses and Kisses by Cynthia Manon. This is a Beauty and the Beast retelling at a boarding school, and he's cursed somehow, and there's family rivalry, her family doesn't get along with his family, and so it's just a whole lot of things that come in to make the perfect book for me. Also, it's by Cynthia Manon, and I have literally enjoyed every single book she has ever written. Which is 3 at this point. She's an auto-buy author for me at this point. I think she is fantastic, and I cannot wait to see how she's going to take Beauty and the Beast. This is a whole series of retellings, and I am here for it. So moving on to March, we're going to start with March 3rd. The first one is Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare. Listen, I just love Herondales being Herondales, and there's just so much promise for more than one Herondale to be a Herondale in this book. Guys, if you didn't know, The Infernal Devices is probably my favorite Cassandra Clare series ever. I just love Will I love all of them, but and I can't really, there are other things I can't do, but I love Will Herondale so much. And this is about his kids. And I'm here for it. I'm ready. I am just, I cannot wait to see him suffer the way his guardians suffered when they were having to deal with him as a child, because Herondales are there's just ridiculousness is a trait that is bred into them somehow. I don't know how they are all the most dramatic and ridiculous beings in the entire Shadowhunters world. I'm saying that knowing that Magnus Bane is there. Saying that, but I feel like Magnus would agree with me on this one. That just Herondales are a whole other level, and I love watching them be stupid as can be. I just love watching them screw up and be all angsty about it. Also, I'm assuming we're gonna get to see Tessa and Jem again, because from what I read in the short stories, they're still very much, especially Jem is still very much a part of Will's life, and that makes me happy, because it just does. The other one that I am looking forward to in March, which is not, it's not necessarily a high priority for me, but I'm interested, because I've read some of this author's other works, and I have liked the ideas she's had, but we'll see. We'll see what people feel about this one. I probably will still read it regardless of whether or not people love it or hate it. It's House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. I'm just interested. I have no idea what this book is about. Didn't even care to, I like the cover. I like the author to some extent. She's done things that have made me just not smart moves when you don't have a lot of people of color in your books. So hopefully she's learned from that. Anyway, and then we are skipping straight to May 19th, where we are going to be talking about Deadly Waters by Dot Hutchison. All I know about this book is that it takes place on a college campus in Florida, and there are bodies that are turning up near alligators. So it starts with one body, and then another body turns up near an alligator. And so, or alligator-infested waters, I guess. Basically people think the first body has been eaten by an alligator, and then another person shows up killed in the exact same way in a very short amount of time. And so the main character is drawn into this somehow. I'm not entirely sure how. It's a Dot book. I wasn't paying too much attention. I just read Dot's books because I love Dot's books. And she writes really good thriller. This person's roommate might possibly be the person doing the murders, kind of vigilante style, because all of the guys that are showing up dead have been guys that have a history of like harassing women and basically just being gross and like making, yeah. And so I'm ready for it. I will be buying it, and I cannot wait. And then we get into June. First one I want to talk about comes out June 2nd. That is My Calamity Jane by Cynthia Han, Brody Ashton, and Joe DiMeadows. Yes, I got it right. I absolutely adored My Lady Jane, which is the first book in this series. I didn't love My Plain Jane quite as much, just because I felt like I probably didn't read Jane Eyre close enough to when I read My Plain Jane to actually appreciate it properly. I thought it was fun. I thought it was funny. It did not absolutely tickle me the way My Lady Jane did, but also that might have to do with the fact that My Lady Jane is in the Tudor era with the Tudors, who are one of the most ridiculous royal families to have ever existed. One of. I'm really interested to see whether or not I will like My Calamity Jane as much as I liked My Lady Jane, or if it'll just be more of the My Plain Jane, where like, oh, it was a good book, I enjoyed it, I liked the humor, I feel like there were jokes I wasn't getting though. However, it also happens in the United States because it's Calamity Jane, so there's that level. I know a little bit more about her than yeah. And then the final book that I want to talk about is coming out on June 30th, and that is 10 Things I Hate About Pinky by Sandhya Menon. So Sandhya Menon is like a powerhouse because she's working it on 2 series at the moment, and I'm really excited because this is the sequel to There's Something About Sweetie, and we're focusing on Pinky, who is someone's cousin. I don't remember whose. There's a lot of cousins in this series. Anyways, it's her and then this other guy that we got to know in the last book, and in the last book they have this very intense like dislike of each other, and it was fantastic. I was reading the last book going, oh, that would be great to have a book that's just about these two. Like, and lo and behold, There's Something About Sweetie was not the last book in the series, and she is actually doing a book about Pinky, and I don't even remember what his name was. The important thing is, it's a hate to love romance. They have to start dating for some reason. I think it might be fake dating as well. And I love Sandhya Menon. That's it. That's all I got for you. That I don't need any more reasons. I'm so shallow when it comes to the books that I want to read. So those are my most anticipated books for the first half of 2020. Go ahead and let me know in the comments if you are anticipating any of these, or what some of the books you are looking forward to are. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Also hit that subscribe button if you are new here. That is it for now, my friends. Happy reading, and I will see you later when we will talk about more wordy, nerdy things. Bye!